Hello, we're in section 10.6 today looking at circles and arcs. We're going to look at problem number 2. Now, before you actually do any problems, you should always go back and read the previous sections because they give you a lot of great definitions and a lot of ideas so that you'll know. One of the ideas is that an arc, which is a piece of the circle, is always equal to its central angle. So if you know the central angle here, you're also going to know the measure of the actual arc itself. And that's what this is trying to show you. It's saying that arc BC, which goes from here to here, is really the same as the angle BOC, which happens to be 32. So if that's true, then that means arc BC is also going to be 32. Now, it also tells us that BD, now that we know that BC is 32 and that CD was given as 58, we can add those two together, the 32 and 58, to end up being 90. So from B all the way to D, which is 58 and 32 added together, is going to end up being 90. So the angle BD, or arc, BD, would be 90 degrees. Now, ABC, which goes from here by way of B all the way to C, since that line right there goes all the way through the center of the circle and goes all the way across, we call that a diameter. But because that's a diameter, ABC is considered to be a semicircle, or half of a circle. And all the way around a circle is 360, so half of a circle is going to be 180. All right, now, that means that the measure of angle ABC, being that it's a half circle, is going to be equal to 180. Now, if we want to know what the measure of AB is, which is just from here to here, remember we just established that all the way halfway around was 180, and then we've got this little piece right here that's 32. So if we take 180 and we subtract away the 32, we're going to be left with what's left, which is what it's asking for, which is AB. That happens to be 148. So the measure of arc AB is going to be 148 degrees. Now, these are the kind of things that you will have to figure out as we work through these kind of problems. Okay. Now, let's look at the got it section here. What is the measure in each arc in circle C? So they've given us a picture, so we're going to do some of these on our own. The first one says the measure of PR. Well, again, I'll try to color code it. P to R goes from there to there. Since the central angle is 77, then the arc is also going to be 77 degrees. All right. The next one, the measure of arc RS. Well, again, do you see that we have a line that's going all the way across? That means it splits the circle in half. So from P to R to S, this whole arc right here would be 180. But it just specifically wants to know RS. So what we would do is simply say 180 minus the 77, and what's left will be RS, and that ends up being 103 degrees. Now, PQR means that it is running from here all the way by Q and then all the way up here to R. Okay, so we're talking about this angle right here. Now, we just established that this one was 103, and we also established that this side was 180, which means this side is also going to be 180. So we're going to add those together. This one would be 180 plus 103, and so that's going to end up being, did I read that right? I'm sorry, I didn't read that right. I've jumped to PQR. So this one is going to be 180 plus 103, which is going to end up being 283. Let me go back. I skipped one here. And let's look at PRQ. Okay, so let me clean this up just a little bit so that it don't look so messy. We know that this one was 77. We established that this one was 103. So if we're trying to do from P to R to Q, it would go from there to there. Well, we know this much of it is 77, this much of it is 103, and this much of it is 28. Now, remember the 77 and the 103 together ends up making the whole 180. So really you could simply just say 180 plus 28, and that's going to end up being 208. And that's how you would find that. So you just simply, once you know the central angles, you also know the arcs, and then remember the whole way around the circle's 360. And so if you need arcs, you can add those together. It's called arc addition postulate. This says you can add arcs together to get the one big arc. All right. Hope this was helpful.